Hi, I hope you are having an amazing day. So this video is about the introduction to the variables in the JavaScript. So in this video, we will learn about that what is the variable, how do we declare a variable, how can we assign a different data types to a variable. And in last, we'll build a simple program that will ask a user for their name and display the personalized greeting using that name. For the demo purpose, I will be using an online editor, Replit, which make the things easier if you want to practice the JavaScript. Alright, so let's just write down the Replit here. Really easy to set up. So let's just go into the Replit first. As you can see here, we have the Replit and browser-based IDE. Get into this. And all you need to do is to log in into their system, which is pretty easy. Just like the other platforms, you can log in with your Google account, GitHub, Facebook, or the Apple account. Okay, so we are doing this with our GitHub account. You can easily assign this with any other account, whichever you want. Okay, so now we are in the dashboard of our Replit IDE. So if you are new to Replit, what you need to do, you have to click on create REPL. Okay, and then since we are learning the JavaScript here, so we will click on the Node.js Replit and we will make this private. And now what we need to do here, you can give any name you want. My second REPL, create REPL, and there you go. Everything is set up for you to do the JavaScript development here for the practice, obviously. So first of all, we will understand that what is the variable. So if I just put this in the simple words, you can consider the variable as the box or the container where you can store a value. That's it. Now we will learn to declare the variable. So let's just declare a simple variable here. I would use the var keyword. Then I would write down the name of the variables. So I would give my underscore my name, and then I will give it a value. Okay, so if you want to give a text value to your variable, for that you have to use the single quotation, or you can also use the double quotation. All right, and we can also use the template literals, but we won't get into this right now, so we will simply use the double quotation here. Then I will write down my name here. Okay, so this is how you declare or define a variable. Alright, so defining the variable has the two parts. So the first one I would say is the declaration, where you declare the variable, and there is a second part in which you assign the value. So as you can see here, the var and the name of the keyword, this part is considered as the declaration of the variable, and the part after the equal sign is the place where you assign the value. We can also separate this as well, so I would give it birth month and semicolon. Okay, so I only declared a variable here. So if I just want to assign the value separately, what I will do, I would write down the name of the keyword, which is birth month, then equal sign, then I will use a value here, Jan or something. This would be assigning a value. And you can also reassign the value. If you want to update the value, what you need to do, you will simply write down the name of a variable, which is birth month, and you can also give different value to it, and it will override the initial value. So you can see here in the birth month we have given the two different values. In the first one we have given the January, and the second one I have given a December. Whenever you reassign, this would be called reassigning. Okay, so whenever you reassign the value to a variable, it would override the first value. If I just console log the birth month, it would give me the December in return. Okay, so let's just run this. If you don't know about the console log is simply the method which helps you to display the data. So as you can see here that when we reassign the value, it actually overrides the first value here. But normally what we do, we declare and assign the value in a single line of a code, just like the first variable here. So I would do the birth month declaration and assigning the value in a single line. I will just simply remove this because I just wanted to give you an idea of how can you assign and reassign and declare the variable. Okay, so let's just remove this and we would still have the same data. Okay, so now you will learn to declare the variable in the different ways. To declare the variable, we can use the three different keywords, the var, and you can also use the const keyword, and you can also use the let keyword. So you can define the variable with all of these keywords. So let me just write down the const here, and let me just write down the let here, and it would work perfectly here. So you can consider the let as the updated version of the var. Of course, there's a difference between the var and the let, but we won't get into this right now. But we will learn about the difference between the const and the let. So whenever you want to assign a constant value, or you want to assign the value that you do not want to reassign in the future, you define that variable with the const keyword. For example, I want to reassign my name. So I can do this and I will give a new value here, and it would simply override my first value. So let's just write down my name here and run the code, and it would work fine. Okay, so it is actually the console. So as you can see here, so when I reassign the my name variable with the new value, it actually overrides the initial value. Okay, so you got the point here. But when you want to do the same thing with the variable you declared with the const keyword, it will actually give you the error. So if I reassign the value of the birth month, it will give me the error. So let's just run this again. So you can see here the error, that the assignment to the constant variable. So whenever you declare a variable with the const keyword, you cannot reassign it. So that is how we declare the variable in the JavaScript. So now we will learn about the different data types of the variable. Okay, so I have created a file data type. So you can see that there are the 7 data types in the JavaScript: the number, string, object, big int, and the symbol. But in this video, we will only learn to use the data types that are often used in the projects or the JavaScript. So we will skip the symbol and the big int in this video. So let's just back to the index.js file. So as you can see here that we have already used one data type here, which is string. So whatever you write inside the double quotation or the single quotation is considered as a string. So if you want to write down the number here, what will you do? You will simply write down my date, then put the numerical value here, give it a console log, and let's just run the code here. I have to remove this. Alright, so we also have to remove this. Now it will work fine. Okay, so now you can see here we have the string value and we also have the numerical value or the number here. So how can we check the data type of the variable? There is a method named typeof, and with the help of this method you can actually check the data type of your variable. So for example, I want to check the data type of my name and my date as well. So I will use the typeof method along with the name of the variable, and then I will run the code. It would return me the type of the variable. My name is a string and the type of my date is a number. And if you do not define a value in the variable, we only declare it, it would actually give you undefined data type. Now you can see here. So whenever you declare the variable and you do not assign the value to it, the type of the variable would be the undefined. Alright, so now we have covered the number and the string and the undefined. So now we have to cover the object here. So in the JavaScript, array is also considered as an object. Okay, so I will write down the let my array, and I hope you would be familiar with the array, but if you're not, let me just tell you, we use the array data type whenever we want to assign the multiple value to a variable. So to use the array, we have to use the square brackets, and inside that we will put our values 1 2 3 4 5 6 and etc etc. So how do we separate the multiple values in array? We do it by using the comma, and then you give provide the value. You can also provide a string value here. It would be the string value. All right, and so in the similar way we would create an object here. So in the object we actually put the key and value pairs, or the property name and the property value pairs. Okay, so how do we define the object? So what you need to do, you have to write down the curly bracket, and inside that you have to write down the key and the value pair. Okay, so the key would be, for example, my name. After the key you have to write down the colon, and then you will write down the value of that particular key. So I would write down the Martin here, and if I want to add the another value or another key and value pair, I have to separate them by using comma. So second value would be the birth date, it would be 20. All right, so now we learn to define the array and the object as well. So let me just console log both of these variables here, my array, my object. So let's just run this, and we would have the value of my object and the my array. Okay, and if I just try to check the data type of the array and the object, it would return the object in both of the cases. So in the JavaScript, the array is treated as the object as well. So now we will learn a little more about the array and the object, that how can we access the particular values in the array and the object. So for the array, if you want to access the particular value, what you need to do, you have to write down the name of the array, and after that you will use the square brackets, and you have to write down the index value of that particular value. So the index value actually start with the 0 and it goes onward, depends on the number of the elements or the values in an array. Okay, so the index value are actually in the ascending order. So the first value would have the 0 index, second value would have the 1 index, third value would have the 2 index, and the seventh value would have the 6th index. So if I want to access value 6 here, so I would write down its index value, so that would be the 5. If I just console log this again, and you would get the 6th value here. And if I want to access a particular value in the object, we can do it in the two different ways. You can use the dot notation, and you can also use the square bracket notation. So in the dot notation, what you actually do, you will write down the name of your object, and you will write down the name of the property you want to access. So if I want to access the name here, I will write down the name and run it here, and you can see here we have accessed the value of the my object. And we can also access this in the square bracket notation, and here I will write down the name of the key or the name of the property, but inside the double quotation or the single quotation. Okay, so let's just run this and it would work fine. So now we have learned about the different data types of the variable and how can we use them. So in last, we will build a simple project with all the knowledge that we have learned here. So let me just remove all of this code here. So the project that we wanted to build was to get the input from the user of their name, and in response we will give them a personalized greetings. Okay, so first of all we have to learn that how can we get the input from the user. So for that we have the function or the method called prompt, and inside the prompt we will actually ask the question that what we want to get from the user. So I will write down what is your name. So let's just run this, and here it would ask for the input, and you can see here that what is your name. So I would give it a my name, but it would do nothing onward. Okay, because we haven't given any variable or anything to our prompt. So if I want to store the value that we get from the user and then we use it for the greeting, so what I need to do, I have to declare a variable here. So I will write down the const, and I will write down the name here. Okay, so this is the name of the variable, and whatever the value we get from the prompt, it will be assigned in the name variable. So let's just give it a console log just to check whether it is working perfectly fine or not. So as we know, whenever we have to use the variable in the console log, we simply write down the name of the variable inside the small brackets. So let's just run this. Okay, and give it a value, and you would have the console log of that value. Okay, so we got the custom name here, and now we will do the personalized greeting based on the name of the user we get. Okay, so first of all I will write down that hello. Okay, here I will use the plus sign, and after the plus sign I will use the name of the variable that we want to use, and after variable we will also use the plus sign, and we also wanted to have some text after the name of the user. So it would be how you doing. So let me just explain this code here. So whenever you want to combine the string values with the variable, what you need to do, you will write down the string, and if you want to use the variable after the string, you will write the plus sign and then the name of the variable. And if you want to use the variable before the string, what you will do, you will write down the name of the variable, and after that you will use the plus sign and then a string value, whatever it is. So let's just run this, and it will ask my name here. So I would give it my name and hit the enter, and I will have the personalized greeting here. So let me just give it a space, and I will use another name here, Martin, and it will give the personalized greeting based on your name or the name of the user. Alright, so this is it for this video. So I think we have learned enough about the variables in the JavaScript. So we'll meet you in the next video.